In 1957, a young boy's lifeless body was found stuffed inside a cardboard box, abandoned in the freezing woods of Philadelphia. No name, no missing report, no answers. For over 6 decades, the world called him the boy in the box, America's most haunting, unsolved child murder case. But what if I told you that after 65 years of silence, he finally spoke? This is the story of how science, obsession, and fate cracked a case that refused to die. This is the truth behind the boy in the box. It was February 25th, 1957, Philadelphia. The air was sharp, silent, the kind of cold that seeps through your coat and makes the world feel hollow. Nestled in the woods near Susquehanna Road, a narrow dirt path twisted through trees stripped bare by winter. It was a forgotten place where no one had reason to go, except fate. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was just checking his muskrat traps, illegally, trying not to be caught. But what he found would haunt Philadelphia for generations. A large cardboard box, bent, weathered, out of place. Inside it was the small, lifeless body of a boy. The boy was naked. His hair had been crudely chopped, as if someone tried to disguise him. His small frame was covered in bruises. He had been beaten, discarded like garbage. Panicked, the student didn't report it immediately. He was afraid of being caught for trespassing, of what he had just seen. It wasn't until the next day, when a second man, a local hunter, also stumbled across the box, that police were finally called. And so began one of the most disturbing murder mysteries in American history. A nameless boy, no witnesses, no missing child report, no answers. The boy in the box. Philadelphia police arrived quickly, but even faster came the confusion. The boy, between 4 and 6 years old, had no clothes, no ID, no one to claim him. His body was clean, but his nails were dirty. His hair had been hacked away, possibly post-mortem. Someone was trying to erase his identity, permanently. Leads were few, and none made sense. The cardboard box had once contained a baby bassinet, sold only at J.C. Penney. Detectives tracked down every single buyer of that model, but the trail went cold. The city was gripped by the case. Flyers were sent across Pennsylvania and neighboring states. Over 400,000 posters mailed. Hospitals, schools, orphanages were contacted. But no child had been reported missing, not one. It was as if this boy had never existed. Fingerprints, taken and sent to the FBI, no match. Dental records, no match. Facial sketches, no results. It wasn't just a mystery, it was a ghost. Investigators interviewed psychics, consulted adoption agencies, even hired carnival workers to identify the boy. Nothing. Hundreds of tips, all dead ends. Detectives began to believe the unthinkable. Maybe someone had deliberately kept this child hidden his entire life, and then disposed of him. The press began calling him what the world would never forget: America's unknown child. The investigation stalled, but the obsession only grew. Without a name, without a suspect, the case became a magnet for theories, some logical, some horrifying. Just 1.5 miles from the discovery site stood a foster home. Locals whispered that children were mistreated there. Investigators zeroed in. A confidential witness claimed the boy lived there, beaten, kept secret, then killed. But no physical evidence ever surfaced. The residents denied everything. No charges were filed. Then came Martha. Decades later, in 2002, a woman came forward, claiming her mother purchased the boy in 1954, kept him in their basement, abused him, until he died. She said her mother cleaned his body, cut his hair, and dumped him in the woods. The story matched some known details, but the woman had a history of mental illness, and police found no proof. Some believed he was the child of a traveling carnival worker, born on the road, never registered, never missed. A ghost before he even died. Dozens of theories, hundreds of interviews, polygraphs, dig sites, national alerts, but nothing stuck. The case went cold. Retired officers admitted, "This case broke us." Each lead sparked hope and ended in silence. In the 2000s, the boy's remains were exhumed. Forensic science had evolved. His DNA was extracted and preserved. A flicker of hope returned. Justice has no expiration date. He had no voice, no family, no grave marker with a name. But the world had adopted him. Volunteers kept fighting for him. Bloggers, retired detectives, even internet sleuths, all trying to bring him home. And then, nearly 65 years later, science would finally speak for him. For over 6 decades, he was America's unknown child. No name, no justice, just questions. But in 2022, something changed, not by luck, but by the persistence of science and the hearts of strangers. Using forensic genealogy, a revolutionary method that maps distant family trees through shared DNA, a match was found. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Born January 13, 1953, to a troubled family in West Philadelphia. He was just 4 years old when his life ended, discarded like he never mattered. But the world never let him go. On December 8, 2022, authorities made the announcement the city had waited 65 years for. We may never know exactly how Joseph died, but at least we now know who he was, and that matters. Joseph had living relatives, siblings who never knew he existed. His parents were not publicly named, authorities citing privacy laws and fears of retaliation. The truth? He was born into dysfunction and vanished before he could ever find peace. Hundreds gathered, laying flowers, teddy bears, letters, people who never met him but felt his story in their soul. They came to say, "You mattered." Joseph's story sparked change. Funding for cold cases increased, new forensic labs were built, and laws were revisited. His death was a tragedy, but his legacy became a movement. He reminded the world that no child should ever go nameless, that every life, no matter how short, deserves love, dignity, and remembrance. Joseph Augustus Zarelli now rests under a stone that speaks his name, but in truth, he lives in every child saved by his story. In memory of Joseph Augustus Zarelli, 1953 to 1957, may your name never be forgotten again. For 65 years, his silence echoed through history. But now, Joseph's voice is finally heard, not through words, but through impact. Joseph's case became a blueprint, a reminder that even the oldest mysteries can find answers, if we dare to search. Since his identification, dozens of cold cases have been reopened nationwide, some already solved. His tragedy turned into a tool of justice, saving children from becoming nameless shadows. His story reignited investment in forensic genealogy. Hundreds of volunteers, scientists, and genealogists now work together, not for money, but for justice. Because one solved case leads to another. Philadelphia still carries the pain, but now it carries purpose. From classroom discussions to museum exhibits, Joseph's name now lives on, not as a victim, but as a teacher. What once was forgotten now reminds us every day to pay attention, to protect, to speak for the voiceless. Joseph's name is more than a headline. It is a warning, a call to action, and a promise. Joseph Augustus Zarelli gave the world something precious: hope. Hope that the past doesn't have to stay buried. Hope that the dead can speak through truth. And hope that justice, no matter how late, can still bring light. He was once unknown. Now he's unforgettable. From darkness came a name. From silence came a story. From tragedy came a new hope. Joseph's identity may have been found, but his justice still waits. What do you think really happened to the boy in the box? Was it a tragic accident or something darker? Share your theories in the comments below. Let your voice speak, where his could not. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because more forgotten cases are waiting to be heard.